The innermost layer is the self, which is accessed here in this non-local space. And it's also the underlying reality of everything. So that's the self. We can't talk much about it. And then the first thing that occurs when experience arises is the I thought, the ahamkara. So that's the first impulse in every thought. It's like you're the one who's thinking it. Any perception, you're the one who's perceiving, right? So that's the first layer, and then, but the next two layers are deeply suffused by the bliss and the consciousness of the self. So the first layer is the bliss body, which of course the expression of is unconditional love, the love of God that we all carry inside of us. And the next layer is the intuitive mind. So those two aspects of the heart, intuition, intuitive mind, wisdom mind, and unconditional love or compassion, depending on which tradition you're dealing with. So that's the quality of the self as it directly emerges into creation. And when you're attuned to any of those inner layers, you're automatically drawn inside. You're drawn into the presence of God, into the self. And then the next layer is the thinking mind, and from there on everything goes out, right? So the thinking mind is connected to the senses, and the senses automatically always go out. It's just their nature. So the thinking mind, and then the thinking mind leads to emotions, especially when we're looking at the negative stuff. Negative thoughts create negative emotions, creates negative behavior, creates negative physical manifestation. And the physical manifestation, whether body or world, is really the same. It's a very, very non-meaningful separation to think of the physical world and your body, because it's all a creation of that same self. So the trick is to take the causes of unhappiness which happen in the thinking mind and the emotional body and dissolve them, so we can increasingly get in touch with the inner layers, the intuitive mind and the bliss body, the love. And especially with bhakti, of course, with any kind of devotion and with heart sourcing, you attune your attention directly to that bliss body, which is the closest layer of reality that we can feel as an I around the self. And the more we pour our attention into that, the more we're drawn into the self, and eventually that make-believe layer or veil of ahamkara, of I-ness, just dissolves. And we become one, we realize that we've always been one with that ocean of self that we access here. That is limitless. And then everything flips. Then suddenly we're no longer this being inside of this bag of skin, but we're consciousness, vastness of consciousness in which that body arises along with a universe. So that's a profound flip, like a ground figure shift of perception. Like there are scriptures that really spell it out, the Ashtavakra Gita, Yoga Vasishta, and a number of others that really spell it out. And this is the classical self-inquiry, where you're asking yourself, who am I? And first the ego comes up with 3 million different answers that you're obviously not. And the first one is probably the body, because that's our most fundamental confusion. Then you can feed that question of who am I? You have your own answers that are all negative. This isn't it, and this isn't it, and this isn't it. I'm not the history, I'm not the serial number, I'm not all of those different things. And then you can feed it with the wisdom of the self that has been left to us by these people, these sages who just with incredible perception have been able to see and express the reality of the self. And you take your little thinking mind and feed that into the thinking mind, and it just widens it, and it weans it off that habit of always seeing yourself as a self, as an ego. And you more and more feed the thinking mind with the realization that you are this vastness of the self. And that keeps dissolving, it keeps just working away at the thinking mind. And there's a lot of work to do, there's a lot of conditioning here, right? But it just dissolves and dissolves and dissolves and gets into the intuitive mind and into the bliss body, depending on personality. Some people are more into one or the other. And all of that then leads us automatically into the very core of who we are. And we can do all of this while maintaining a perfectly ordinary life. That's the really cool thing now. This is our time. Most of us don't have to go and become nuns and monks anymore and hermits. There's the story of Kabir, the great saint, who always used to talk about the cave and the marketplace. And how the proof of enlightenment is really found in the marketplace. You can go to the cave, and that's great to find enlightenment there. But can you do it in the middle of temptations and everything that elicits your desires and your cravings and your hatreds and aversions, and in the tumultuous reality of multiplicity? Can you do it there? Can you stay with the oneness there?